Hey guys, so we have the OCG ban list that just came out. Unfortunately, not the TCG, so hopefully, based on the title of the video, you weren't too startled to start off your morning, so apologies for that. And we are still waiting for our own, but in the meantime, let's see what they're doing over there. They are a few months ahead in terms of format, but it might give us some insight in terms of how we might make some hits as well, although of course in the future, and sometimes it doesn't actually align with what the OCG does. Anyways, I just wanted to paint a quick picture with the OCG meta, just so you have a better sense, and so I have a better sense even. And it looks like, Malice, Riser, and Blue Eyes are the top 3 decks over there, and that's sort of the case for us as well, although it's a little bit flipped for us because Riser, of course, has much more tops in our format. And then you also have some White Forest, which is pretty respectable here, considering White Forest as a Mina. Orcus, they do have some new support over there, as well as Evil Twin, I assume, with Alliance Insight, and then Memento is actually pretty solid over here, but that is sort of the picture. And if we go through the actual ban list in itself, and keep in mind, this is a Japanese website. Google is automatically translating it, so the card names themselves are probably going to be butchered. But to start off, they do have Scythe and Summon Limit banned. So Summon Limit, of course, we have banned this recently as well on our end. Makes sense. I think it was just far too strong because any deck could really play it post side. As long as you go first, set up your board, Summon Limit. Really strong. It's actually a card I used to play quite a lot, even from the old days. Scythe is funny because they actually originally limited this very recently, which was incredibly stupid, right? Because you're only going to ever play it at 1 and to Scythe lock people so that they can't access the extra deck. So luckily they did finally ban it. They do make some interesting kind of ratio hits over there in the OCG that you would see. For example, they hit SP to 2 the first time around. Really weird. So as we move on to the restricted, or rather limited cards, this is just kind of like a Google Translate essentially. So I would say interesting that with Riser they hit Sword. Of course, a lot of people are expecting like X. I'm not sure if they've already hit X over there, maybe that's why, but interesting that they went for this. You see this with like OCG, for example. I remember when they first hit Sprite, they limited Jet. They limited Starter, for example. For us, we did eventually semi-limit Starter way later, but we didn't hit any of the main deck monster Sprite cards, for example. So sometimes there are changes. Shifter, hopefully we see this on our end as well. They did put it to 1. They were already at 2 though, so they were actually doing something about this card, unlike the TCG. I would really like it if they even semi-limited it to start over here. I think it would at least be a start that they will actually start hitting this card. Malice, interesting that they are still actually hitting the main deck monsters. It's sort of weird with like Ryzeal and Malice. More so Malice, I want to say. They don't have that many main deck monsters. Of course, they're getting a new one too, but still, it's kind of hard to hit directly decks like these I've found, but it looks like they're actually at least hitting the main deck monsters. Who knows if we will see that as well. And 7th Hakion going to 1. This just came out for us, of course, so we're not going to see this get hit anytime soon. Again, as I mentioned, they are a few months ahead, so at least looks like, I know there's some debate here in terms of whether people would even want to play this card, especially when we still have Bonfire 3. Keep them on OCG, they do have it at 1. Most likely TCG, I think they will hit Bonfire too, especially promote sales of Maze of the Master, but also just make this Bonfire is a very good card. And then you have Grass. Interestingly enough, it looks like they had to, and just looking at the Google translated word here, and they changed it to mow the neighbor's lawn, which I guess is somewhat accurate. No, but they interestingly had it at 2, it looks like, and they put it back down to 1. We right now have it at 1. I was actually saying they could probably put it to 2 because no meta decks are playing it right now. Of course, I'm sure there will be something maybe along the lines where this card can be very good again. You have Tier Elements, which just isn't doing that much nowadays anyways, but it looks like they did make a mistake there, maybe putting it to 2. So then moving on to semi-limited cards, and we have a Cyberpod here. So this, who cares, right? I mean, I think this is the case for like TCG with like this, the memory as well. For Pearly, like Pearly has really completely disappeared as well. I mean, sometimes I've seen it with like Mimighoul, just because they are level 1 and Mimighoul monsters like rank 1s, for example. So there's some synergy there, but otherwise we really haven't seen much of these cards. So semi-limit, usually kind of a weird one. And then we have cards that are back to 3. It looks like they did hit Kieran. That was kind of up for debate for us during like Fire King Snake Eye format. Eventually it just ended up being so much more Snake Eye that people just didn't really care about Kieran. And right now Fire King, I think, is a pretty sleeper rogue choice, especially having a good matchup against Ryzeal. You have Monkey Board, Chronograph. Yeah, so they hit Pendulums really hard, because I was playing Pendulums back in like 2019, and I was looking at the OCG list, and they had so many cards hit like this, Dark Worm, just harmonizing. Looks like they are finally putting things back. I mean, Pendulums are pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. Even with some of the new support they got, about a year or two ago. It just hasn't been enough, just because pendulums, at least pendulum magicians, they always require so many cards in their combo, and they just don't have a lot of non-engine space like you would need and nowadays in the current format. So it's just not a great deck. Masterpiece, I was actually surprised this was already at 2 over there, and now it's at 3. So this came up quite a bit for TCG2, just because, you know, for example, Expertly Noir is a better version arguably than Masterpiece, and of course that's around, and now, as I mentioned, Pearly not even seeing play at the moment. So it's just more so, I think, principle. It's just a pretty toxic card, but if they bring it back, I don't think anything will really happen. Morphing Jar and Snatch Seal. We have Snatch Seal, I think, at 1 still. Hasn't really seen much play. When it first came off the list, sure, a little bit, but for the most part, I'm not sure if they would actually go towards 3 right away for us, but I think, or maybe it already is, and I'm not recalling it properly. And Zodiac Barrage, so nothing too special there. So I think overall, it's, you know, somewhat of a solid list. I'm sure the direct hits to Razio Malice is something. I just noticed they still have Maxi over there, I believe at 2, and they still have the Mult Charmies as well, and I don't know. I would think that they would have at least eventually hit Maxi a little further now with all those Mult Charmies, especially with Mules out as well. So I think it's a little bit unfortunate for them. For us in the TCG, that Maxi treatment is more like for Shifter, I feel like, in terms of just this never being hit. Hopefully we do see it. Definitely let me know what you think of the OCG ban list, but more so what you hope to see the TCG ban list. At this point now, I think because we have another YCS coming up, I believe they'll probably announce the ban list in YCS Houston, for example, early April. I think that's just sort of our next best guess at this point. So anyways, big thanks to all of you for watching this bright and early in the morning, and well, take care, guys.